Hello and welcome to another episode of Next Week in Gaming. Next week is our November week 3 and it is another delightful dark November evening. As usual, we'll be covering game releases, early access releases, interviews, deals, bundles and all that kind of stuff. So first up is a bit of a bundle, except this one's ongoing. Now, a lot of people looked at the humble monthly bundle idea and thought, oh, this is not so great, we're paying money and we don't know what games we're going to get. To be fair, I was one of them and I just didn't bother and I thought, it's not for me. It was this thing where you could pay $12 a month, but you can just subscribe for 1 month if you want to and cancel your subscription afterwards. And every month you'll get a load of games emailed to you in like a little mini surprise bundle. Unsurprisingly, people weren't sure what games they were going to get and so they didn't bother. But now looking back, those games are actually pretty damn good. So the first and, like the pilot episode of the Humble Monthly Bundle included these wonderful little gems. So first up we have Saints Row 4, we've got the early access version of Besiege, Valkyria Chronicles, which is actually pretty damn good, Lethal League, Sanctuary, Towerfall Ascension, which is an excellent party game, it's one I always get out when I have Steam Machine parties, and Legends of Grimrock 2. So all in all, $12, you'd probably pay that for some of the top end jumbo bundles to get all the higher tier stuff. And the games there's a lot of pretty, big budget titles as well as a few indies there, so maybe it might be worth checking out next month. Obviously the first month might be a bit of a honeypot sort of thing, but it might be something worth checking out in future. So our first title is coming out on Monday the 16th of November. This is by Digital Fried Enterprises and it's also being published by Digital Tribe. This is a game that I looked at on the Steam upcoming list and then thought, the picture doesn't look very interesting, the game's name is just generic, and then I thought, screw it, I'm just going to click on this, opened a tab, went off to lunch and then came back, and I got the chance to look at the video and it actually looks really quite good. This is like an espionage stealth FPS game, except it's quite hardcore, very streamlined in the way that the shooting works. So basically you have a tiny little dot for a crosshair and they say that wherever that is pointed to, that is where your bullets will go. So for those of you who have played sort of Counter-Strike games and you're aware of custom crosshairs, a lot of pros, and I myself included, prefer just the singular dot for a crosshair instead of the adaptive moving one. So that's pretty cool. And they also claim that it's got real stealth, but stealth is very much a proof is in the pudding sort of thing, because AI affects stealth quite a bit. But if you look at the video, go ahead and take a look at the gameplay video, the full one on YouTube. It actually looks quite fantastic. I would very much like to review this, however it's coming out next week and I've already got about 4 weeks worth of reviews to get done. So I definitely probably will pick this up and play it in my free time. Coming out on Tuesday the 17th of November is a game by Whalegun. This is Utopia 9, A Volatile Vacation. This is coming out in early access, so it's not entirely complete. They only currently have one area unlocked and a number of weapons and a couple of creatures, I think. And this is basically a top-down shooter game where you've been sent to a planet that's been supposedly terraformed for the sole purpose of wonderful vacations, but it's actually an arid desert full of mutants. And so the purpose of this game is you're just going to make your way through this top-down sort of couple of levels, large areas, and try and get off the planet and sue the travel agency that sent you there. At the moment, I think there's only one large vacation zone unlocked, and there'll be a couple of extras. This game is going to have a bunch of weapons, shields, armor, those sort of drops as a means to progress and still be entertained. And it's only got a few bits at the moment because it's in early access, but it will probably be in early access for a little under a year, maybe a little over a year. But it actually looks quite simplistic, the kind of thing a casual person might play for half an hour to an hour each evening. Coming out on Thursday the 19th of November by Ubisoft is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. This is of course the 19th century based game in the very long and very buggy series of Assassin's Creed games. It's pretty much going to be the usual type of Assassin's Creed game, perhaps with a retexture. It's set in London, so I'm very much interested in how they portray the British accent and various British famous people. You'll meet people such as Charles Dickens. The combat is a little bit more fast paced in this one apparently, and obviously you'll get a whole slew of different types of weapons relevant to, or probably not relevant to that century. But it's pretty much the same old Assassin's Creed, new storyline, new characters, and hopefully less bugs. Maybe a bit of extra performance wouldn't hurt. Let's just hope they QA it this time. I probably won't be playing it because I'll be quite busy with other games. But for those of you interested in Assassin's Creed still, for some reason, go ahead and check that out next week. Finally, releasing on Friday the 20th of November is a game by Atomicom Games. This is Switch Galaxy Ultra, and this is sort of like a bizarre mishmash of F-Zero, and if you remember the grinding rails from Ratchet and Clank, or those Donkey Kong bits in the old Game Boy games where you used to jump between the different rails, it's kind of like that. So basically, it's single player, unfortunately not multiplayer, where you're driving down extremely high speeds, going down these multiple rails on massively long tracks, and you've got to jump between the rails to obviously avoid rails that end and also avoid objects, but also pick up some power-ups to increase your boost times. So a lot of this game is going to be very much down to your own achievements because of the lack of multiplayer, but it does look quite fast-paced and also just generally quite a pretty game, to be honest, and the soundtrack sounds relatively decent too. So it's quite simplistic, unfortunately single player, but I can imagine this appeals to a few people out there. Finally, on to our review, which will be coming out on Thursday the 19th of November. This is, of course, StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. I did get my review key like weeks ago, but because we've been so busy with some of the other reviews, like with Call of Duty, I never actually got a chance to start reviewing it until it basically come out. I have already started playing it, and for those that are wondering, in case you haven't read any of the write-up on their page, it is more similar to the Heart of the Swarm campaign than the original Wings of Liberty, so you get a few upgrades once you progress through the missions. So far so good. I haven't seen many of the new units, but it is relatively interesting. I will try and get some of the multiplayer stuff going. I haven't played StarCraft 2 in a very long time, but I did play a lot of multiplayer. But even so, I've still realised that I am now utterly crap at the game. I can barely pull off a 4-gate these days. So yeah, I'm just going to have to relearn how to play StarCraft 2. But so far, the campaign is pretty awesome for those who are interested. I'll probably only ever get time to play the campaign outside of work hours. So yeah, looking good so far. Check out our impressions video, which I'll upload soon. And of course, check out the full review next week on Thursday. That's it from us at NextPowerUp. Join us next week on Thursday for our weekly review, and of course next week on Saturday for our next Week in Gaming episode. As usual, leave your comments in the section below for what you guys have been playing. I've been tearing my hair out trying to relearn how to play StarCraft 2 multiplayer. That's all I've been doing, and I can't deal with it. It takes a long time. If you're after some tech news, head over to our sister channel, NextPowerUp, and of course they have a full website as well with forums, so you can ask any tech-related questions there as well. So that's it from us. See you guys next week.